Hello, and welcome to the Art of Abundance podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Peterson. I'm so very happy you're joining me for part 5 of my conversation with Lincoln, Channel for Higher Self. This has been one of the most amazing conversations I've ever had for the podcast. I was deeply touched that Lincoln decided to have this conversation with me to answer my questions. I learned a great deal, and I'm hoping that you are too. I'd love to hear your comments, your thoughts, your questions. I'll make sure that they get to Lincoln.
So you've learned in what situation is it appropriate to display certain parts of myself. And I like to use physical examples because we can all see it. Now let's make it an emotional example, right? In what situations is it safe for you to speak your voice? Well, if you're in a relationship with an abusive husband or an abusive parents, it's not safe. But if you're trying to build your career, it is safe and it's necessary. Right? So we have to untangle this understanding, not criticize it. It's right to have learned when to turn off our voice when it causes us problems. But we can't take that same learned behavior and apply it into other areas that need us to express ourselves. Right?
So that's the integration, because as soon as it came forward, I'm scared of being attacked, the response of that openness was, it's almost like you do know you're safe. Like there is this fundamental understanding at a deep level of safety. But what you're saying is that then you have to be careful because you don't, that's kind of in that, in the stars, oh, everything's great, everything's awesome. But that integration can have this very practical application.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's honoring this understanding and letting the work happen in a more natural way. Okay, so the understanding is that this learned behavior serves us in some situations and doesn't serve us in others. That's kind of where we're starting from. That's what we're standing in. And then when you witness this fear of expression showing up, when you're trying to, say, make a video, for example, well, then go into that fear of expression in that situation, already knowing that it's safe to express here. There's not a threat here. And then just do your work in that process, as we spoke earlier, dialoguing, visualizing, whatever tools you're using, right? And so it's not about being over controlling with the mind. Sometimes we can get overly intellectual about it and analyze and theorize too much. I say make it simple. Right? I like, there's a quote from Albert Einstein that we should strive to make everything as simple, but not simpler. Everything as simple as it can be, but not simpler. And that's really this work. We do exactly what we need to do, but we also remove all the unnecessary things, all the things that slow us down.
It does make sense to me. It's in those details that people can get very stuck, but the movement of the energy, just takes you and allows you to integrate what you can integrate and not get stuck on the mind spinning it.
Yeah, the mind's just a tool. That's all it is. We shouldn't give the mind and thought more power than it needs. It's one part of how our mind works, right? Thought, it's just one part. There's emotion, there's that silent understanding that's deep inside. That's the more powerful part. There's memory, there's imagination, there's all these tools that we have, all these functions of the mind. And now in your creative process, right, there is that threat, right, of being seen, of being shiny. And what you'll see is when I look at the world, I don't like shiny people, right? Because I don't want to be shiny myself. So I found a reason to push them away, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah, so there's that there. Okay. Also look at how you dress, look at how you decorate your home, look at the friends you keep. You'll see everything's connected because of these core beliefs about reality that my mind holds on to. You may notice you're going shopping for a new outfit and you really something catches your eye and you really like it. And it's ooh, and then you say, oh, I could never wear that. Right? And it's a part of you is saying, I want to be free. I want to express the brightness and color of myself. And another part of you is saying, I can't feel safe doing that. I can't let myself do that. And so some people buy outfits, they let themselves buy clothing that they feel real free, but they won't wear it out of the house. And that's okay. That's great, because at least they're honoring that part of their expression, saying, in my house, it's safe enough for me to be me. Okay. Now, can we see, is that barrier of safety causing us to not reach some goals we want in other parts of our life? Because I don't think everybody needs to be living the same way as everybody else, right? We don't need to be making videos or being teachers. We just need to find how we want to live. And so we know ourselves and we say, can I live the way I want to live? And what comes up when I'm trying to live that way?
Yes.
Now with yourself, that piece of, you know, the violence you experienced, the shooting you were witness to, that's only got connected into earlier karma you had. That's what I see. Earlier karma you had about your expression in the world. Right. And so there's other ideas and other pieces. And so the physical traumatic experience of that event, you might be able to move through that and you'll realize, okay, there's more there still. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're missing something or not seeing something about the traumatic connection. It's that the mind is so intricate. And it's like we're trying to untie a knot. And we get rid of one knot and we see there's another knot underneath it. And we keep untying like a shoelaces knotted together until we finally get to that last knot. And then there's finally this breaking free of, oh, there's peace. That's the recognition we've arrived, is there's this feeling of expansion and peace in which we can just be ourselves. And we don't feel the mind resisting or reaching. Right? Those are the two movements, pushing away or pulling towards. And we don't feel the mind doing any of those. We're just free to be me. And then we can talk and speak and express and feel while we still experience that freedom without inner resistance.
Which is what I think most of us are looking to create in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all want to feel free. There's a happiness, there's a peace, and there's a connection in that state of freedom. And it's free in the world with the forms, free to be who I am. And that is your abundant creator. Because when you want something, you can express what is needed to get there. Right? You're free to learn how the forms work. You're free to express what's needed for those forms. Yeah, you're free to interact with the forms. That's how I understand the truth of this awakening process. Sometimes we think that I have to show myself that I'm a powerful creator. I have to prove it to myself that I can make this business. And it's like, there's value in that, definitely. Reach your goals because you're learning how you are a creator. But my experience at the end is that you've now found peace with this experience of life. You found peace, and in that peace there's a genuine connection. It's not a displaced peace that the world doesn't touch me. It's actually an integrated peace with the world. The world's here and I am it, and it is me, and everything is perfect.
You've taught me that very well, and it is integrated into so much of what I do, and this has been amazing. I'm sure it will be broken into parts, which is what you do with your videos. Now I understand.
Yeah. Sometimes I break them up. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information. Sometimes people have to stop it and process it, and sometimes I know I deliver a lot of information, like one on top of the next. So when I work with people in sessions, they get a lot, and I record it so they can stop it and process it, because sometimes at the end of the session, people are a little oversaturated. Hey, that's what the universe said you needed. Comes through.
You can listen to it over and over again.
Yeah, and benefit for a long time.
And yes, I can't say enough about those sessions. For so many reasons, people may feel like they're stuck with something, or they're in a loop, which is what was happening with my book writing, or just not being able to get grounded and not sure why. I'm sure people come to you for a full spectrum of reasons, but I can just attest to how profoundly helpful they are. And when I come out of the session, I notice the energy, because I am a creator. I do like to generate activity and do things. And so that unstuckness occurs, and then all of a sudden the action happens. And that happened the last time we spoke. It
Great.
was with the book, and then I was able to write the outline and finish it.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Like, finish the outline. I'm still
Mhm.
writing it, but it was very clear. And I think that that's just such a beautiful aspect of the work that you do, when people can come to you and you're so accessible. They can make sessions. Maybe you could talk about that as we finish up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm available all the time. I've never been one to really advertise and promote like the shininess you'll see. Because when I was young, I could feel the manipulation energy very clearly. And also, I'm a very self-sustaining person in the way that I think about reality. And it's also caused me to develop myself in the way I have. I understand the oneness of everything, but I also know that I'm a creator, so I don't need to take from others that I realize are struggling. Like, I can see them struggling, so why should I manipulate them? And that's one of the things I see happening in the world a lot. A client will come to you in their need, and the person who has the knowledge already will hold some of it back, or they'll say, oh, you have to pay me this amount of money, and if the payments stop, I'm cutting it off. And I've always had a problem with that, because I realized the information you have was given to you from somewhere else. And if you don't give it to someone else, then you're breaking that process, and they're a part of you. And if you want the world to change, you really have to give the best that you got to everybody. Right? It's like the energy heating the pot of water. Like, if you hold back heat, the water's not going to boil. If you are not doing the best you can do to help yourself and help this world, then you're holding back the evolution of the universe. No one's asking you to be more than you are. Right? God's just asking you to share who you are. Right? And if you can shine your light in the difficult areas, then others are going to see your light in ways they never did before, and that's going to spark their awakening. So this all ties in with my service, because I work for donation, and I don't restrict people from working with me. There's been a few cases over the years I've done this work where people approached me in energies that were no longer supportive for the work we're doing together. It wasn't my personal opinion. I have experienced all types of verbal abuse and all sorts of games people play, right? I've happened first when I started making YouTube videos, and people would post comments on my videos, saying really nasty things to me, and sometimes people would challenge me to like want to debate with them about concepts. And I realized that the energy they're bringing is not constructive for the purpose of my work and the purpose of why I'm in people's lives. And that became the reason of why I didn't work with the person, or why I didn't respond to a comment. If someone needed help, I gave it as best as I could with the time I had available, of course, because I had to stop reading YouTube comments after a few years because I didn't have time for other things that I needed to do. So I work with donation. Anyone who's sincere, anyone who respects the relationship, I'll work with. And I'm available almost every day of the week. So I have to make space for my own life at times. And it takes a toll on the body sitting in the chair for many hours a day. You got to move the body to keep it healthy and active. When I do sessions, it's on Skype. It can be on telephone. At times I have travel. At times I had an office. But now, because of the nature of how the work has developed, it's easiest and most effective for me just to work at home and work online.
And people can give you donations as well through the site. So if you go to the site, your site, tell everyone the address.
Yeah, the website is channelhigherself.com.
Okay.
And that's my main site. I have some other smaller sites. I have a site called higherselfteachings.com, where I have, I believe it's 7 different CDs or MP3 albums that are guided meditations with music that have been professionally produced for a company in Australia called Karma Living.
And I have purchased those. Those are really beautiful. So you can put those on your phone and listen to those.
Yeah, I teach about chakras. One's about fear, one's about forgiveness. So there's some core aspects of the human experience. And the music was chosen It was actually created by a very talented musician called Christopher Lloyd Clark, and he does spiritual music and new age music, and it's also very therapeutic. And he has a real natural understanding of vibration and sound in a way that it helps to support a healing environment. Like he'll use instruments and sounds that help with the chakras that we're working on, or help create the right environment. So it's very supportive, the music, which is what my YouTube videos don't have. They're just myself speaking. And I do have some guided meditation videos on YouTube also. You'll just have to find them in my long list of videos.
Yeah, there's thousands. I'm just telling everyone, thousands of videos. And they're on topics, so you can search to see like what topics resonate.
Yeah, just go to my website, type in keywords, and you'll find a list of videos that'll come up. I've been doing this for almost 10 years. In about 2 months, it'll be 10 years since the first video. And so there's been a few thousand developed over the years.
Thank you, Lincoln, for
you're
being
welcome,
here. This has just been so incredible. I didn't know it was going to be a teaching for me and for everyone else, but I kind of suspected something magical would happen.
That's great. Yeah. And the last thing to add, because I know a lot of people feel stuck. Like I have a lot of information that I communicate in my videos or like in our talk together. And you know this as well, because you do the work coaching. And if we feel stuck, there's lots of people who can help us. Like some people prefer to work it on their own, and that's great. That's how I was myself. I would use books, I would research, I would find things, or I'd just problem solve inside myself. But if we're the type of person who needs support, maybe that's part of our journey, is that we need healing and nurturing from the outside world for healing and growth. Then there are coaches, available. There are people who have been trained, who've already spent the years of time learning this. And so I don't want people to ever think they're alone or they're abandoned or they need to struggle. And one thing I would like to invite people to do is make themselves more available for others, right? So sometimes that requires us to get through our own resistances about, shining our light, or maybe our own judgments about money. That's a huge one. Some people, they have a block about money, and that keeps them from sharing themselves in the world, right? So there's lots of reasons why we withhold our gifts. And even in our personal life, like, can you show up to be the best mother for your children? Like, does it tie into other experiences you had when you were being raised as a child with your mother? Like, and does that maybe hold you back? Maybe you were hurt and you're afraid to hurt your children, so you hold back some love too, right? So there's lots of ways that we can look at our reality and say, how can I shine more of my light? How can I just be more of myself? And the last thing to add before we go, I know it's been a long time, but it's good. I like this. Is that the videos that I've created, and like your videos, they're available all the time. People can listen to them. People can get that support, right? I have videos teaching about many things. And also, like you shared, there's an energy that's present. Even being in the energy of other people or of the higher self-consciousness that I channel, it helps to make changes in our own lives. It's like in ancient times, people would sit at the feet of a guru, and the guru would just sit there and he wouldn't say anything, sometimes for days. There was one period of time where one of my favorite teachers, Ramana Maharshi, I believe it was about 3 years, where he never spoke a single word. And he had tens of thousands of people coming to see him, and they still benefited. There's an amazing documentary about him. It's called The Sage of Arunchala. And has black and white footage of him because he lived long ago. And he was actually the last teacher I read. All the books that I've read, all the teachings, they come from people who no longer are alive. And so he was the last teacher, and I believe he passed on in the 1950s. And in this video, it talks, so they interviewed people who sat with him, and just being in his presence, they would have his voice appear in their minds, or they would have the karma within their minds and their emotions worked through automatically. Some people would come to him and their thoughts would turn off. So there's a tangible effect that we have when we are in these higher states of energy that certain people hold, or our heart holds for us, or even nature holds for us. Everything is this interaction of energy, and we can learn to feel it, recognize it, and then strategically align ourselves with it. Like, we can make choices to watch videos or read books or be around people or spend time in nature when we find that it makes our energy feel better.
Mm.
So turn off the news, get out of the all the things that make us feel stuck and upset about the world. Don't ignore it, it's there. Understand it, let it be there, right? Be aware of the world, right? Even Sri Ramana Maharshi, he read the newspaper every morning, right? So he was one of the most enlightened men I've ever come across, and he read the newspaper every morning. And people would say, why would he read the news? So well, he had no block against the world, and he was in the world, and this was something that he did for his reasons. I don't know what they are, but he had his reasons for reading the newspaper every day. Right? And he was fully enlightened. As far as I can tell, he's one of the only beings, only few beings that I feel are fully enlightened.
Mm.
And so be aware of the world. There's nothing bad or wrong about it, but also be strategic about where you want to place yourself. Because the energy of our emotions is like food. It's the fuel, it's the fire to boil the water. It's a far more powerful fuel than information in the mind. And in the modern day world, we're in the information age. And so people get stuck on concepts. I mean, I gave you enough concepts in this video, but but people focus too much on concepts. And that's why a lot of my words point to the energy. Like, try to get into what you're feeling inside your body. Get out of here, because the thought process is like a displaced reality. It's our own thought bubble. It's separate from our body. It's separate from the deeper parts of our mind. We stay listening to our thoughts, and it keeps us out of the fullness of our reality. And then people they believe that if I change how I think, it'll change everything else. And so they become worshipers of information. That's what I would call it. They put too much importance on information. And they think if I get the new information, then it'll change my life, but their lives stay the same because they need to get their consciousness into the rest of their body. Right? It's like the person who's been paralyzed. Most human beings are pretty paralyzed as they're walking around. They're up here and they're tripping on things and they're walking into things and they're not very aware of what's happening in the rest of their physical body. And then they have an emotional body and a mental body, right? And so we need to practice like rehabilitation therapy, because some trauma, right, pushed us into our mind because that was the safe place we could go, because the emotions of the world were too challenging for us, right? The physical world was too challenging for us. So our souls went to this safe, detached place. And we really have to get into the body to change our lives, and also just to feel better, to feel more open and free. Yeah. So, I could talk for hours.
we have we've come to the end, but I am just so grateful, and I just really, really thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
The concepts, the feelings, the energy, all parts of it. It's just really special. And I know many, many people will benefit from this.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, thank you for having me on your podcast, and I hope that your audience does benefit from what we've shared today, and also from your work. Anybody on the path of transformation, we should be sharing that, and those who are further along are the ones who are helping the ones who are still getting there. Right? There's always, everything is a teaching, everything is a teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the end, like the last thing is like people sometimes just, I know we gotta go, but people often say like, Lincoln, you've probably learned everything and you don't need to learn from anybody. And I tell them, like I shared earlier, doing this work has taught me so much. The reason why I know what I do is because I've interacted with so many people. They've taught me how the human experience works. Right? I approach life as a student to everything and not placing myself above anything or below anything. We do that in our minds, right? We place ourselves above and below. We'll just be in the middle, be with everything else and be connected to everything else, and it'll teach you. That's how I learned. The last thing, which will tie into the first question you asked me, how I began this process, was I started when I was 18 and I read books and I wanted to learn so much, and it lasted 3.5 years. And then I haven't read a spiritual book since then. So that was when I was 18 and now I'm 35.
Wow.
And so what I learned is, and what I decided in myself is, I wanted to learn directly from reality. I already learned all the concepts about how to learn, right? About how to position yourself as awareness. I never read a book on chakras. I never read a book on psychology after college because you had to read the textbooks in college. And my experience comes from conversations with people who come into my life and what they've learned. It comes from me watching people, and most importantly, me observing what's happening inside myself. Because what we know about ourselves then automatically becomes a part of how we understand others. Like you can tell me something and but it's not real for me until I have the experience myself.
I just said that yesterday.
Wonderful. So you're all connected. That's great.
We are all one.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Lincoln, so
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome, Lisa. Yeah, thank you for having me again, and I wish you and all your viewers a wonderful day.
Thank you.